Okay, yesterday in class we introduced slope, and we said slope is a term used to describe the steepness of a line. Okay, we can find slope one of two ways. First thing is the slope formula. And what the slope formula tells us is that we can find the slope of a line, which is abbreviated with an m. The slope is equal to the change in the y-coordinates over the change in the x-coordinates. And you would read this as y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay, and that basically just means find the difference in your y-coordinates and set up a ratio of the difference in the y-coordinates over the difference in the x-coordinates. Sometimes you'll hear that described as rise over run. So we'll first take a look here. We have instructions that tell us a line passes through the points 1, -1, and -2, 6. Find the slope of the line. Well, the first thing we want to do is call one of these points point 1 and one of these points point 2. And that way we can keep our x and our y coordinates straight. So since this one has a bunch of 1's in it, I'm going to call this guy point 1, and I'm going to call this point point 2. Now take a look and we're going to evaluate. We're going to plug these numbers into the slope formula. So we have the y coordinate of point 2, which is 6, minus the y coordinate of point 1, which is -1. So we have 6 minus -1. The y coordinate of point 2 minus the y coordinate of point 1. And we're going to put that over the x coordinate of point 2, which is -2, minus the x coordinate of point 1, which is 1. So now we want to be careful with our arithmetic here. We're finding the slope of this line. 6 minus -1. Well, remember, any subtraction problem we can turn into an addition problem. Subtraction, by definition, means add the opposite. 6 plus, and the opposite of -1 is +1. 6 plus 1 is 7. 6 minus -1 is 7. -2 minus 1, again, if we want to change opposite, become -2 plus -1, which would give us -3. So we can say that the slope of this line would be -7/3. Would be the slope of the line that passes through these 2 points. Now there's another way you can find slope if you're given the graph. If you look over here, I took those same 2 points that we had and put them on the coordinate plane. When you're given a graph and asked to find the slope of a line, there's a much easier way to do that, and that is just to calculate your vertical change or your change in your y values, and then your horizontal change or your change in your x values. We often call that rise over run. So let's take a look here. We had those 2 points. I plotted them on the graph and put a line through them. And now we want to find the slope of this line. Well, how do we get from this point? We always read our graph just like we read words, from left to right. So how do I get from this point to this point? Well, my vertical change, I'm going from a y-coordinate of 6 to a y-coordinate of -1, which means I'm going down 7 units. So I went down 7 units. And as far as my x values go, I'm going from a -2 to a +1, which would be 1, 2, 3 units to the right. So I went down 7 units and 3 units to the right, which again gives me a slope of -7/3. Either way works depending on what you're given. If you're given the 2 points, you probably want to use the slope formula. If you're given the graph, go ahead and just plot your vertical change and your horizontal change. Once you get some practice on that,